Hey, welcome back guys. Jake with Legacy 4x4 here again, and today we're going to be working on the drive shafts for my 1950s Willys pickup truck. Let's get started. Alright, so in addition to the two square drive shafts that we're going to be making, we have some other auxiliary stuff to do, such as mounting the air tank, mounting the bump stops, mounting the CB radio antenna, and a couple other small things. But the main focus of this video is going to be on these square drive shafts. To make these drive shafts, I chose to go square just simply because this is not a street legal vehicle. It will never be registered on the street, and so I don't really feel like I'm worried about driving very fast with it. It's going to be only used off-road, and it's not going to be going extremely quickly. So I feel like square drive shafts are going to work just fine. In the future, if I need to, I will buy a rear traditional type drive shaft for the rear of this vehicle if I feel like I need it, or if I start using this vehicle in a different way than what it is currently being built for. But for now, to keep costs low, we're going with square drive shafts. This is 2.5 by 2.5 inch trailer tube. This is what a trailer hitch is made out of. You can buy this in 3-foot sections on eBay and a few other places. The big key about this is it's a 1/4 inch thick, and there's no rib on the inside of it like what a lot of other structural steel has. There's no weld line in there. So something like 2x2 by 1/4 inch traditional square tube will slide in and out of it very easily, which makes this perfect for a drive shaft. For the other part of the shaft, we're using 2x2 by 1/4 inch square tube as well, and this is a 24 inch length of this square tube, and then a 3-foot length of the trailer hitch tube. This is going to provide plenty of slip in the shaft itself as we're operating off-road, so there's no way this is ever going to come all the way out of this piece of tube unless I take it off of the vehicle. So it's going to give us a ton of slip and a lot of bite on the vehicle as everything is turning and moving down the trail. For the joints, on the transfer case side, the joints are 1330 Ford style joints, which are the slightly weirder sized ones. So I've got 2 of those U-joints and 2 of those associated U-joint yokes. For the rear axle, I actually have a blank 1310 flange, and so we'll put this on the rear axle and we'll just drill out these holes for the mounting pattern. I couldn't find for the life of me the Dodge style flange for this. That wasn't like $200 something. So I got a $30 blank one, and we're just gonna make that work. And then I've got 2 1310 U-joints as well for the axle side, and also a yoke for those. Then we got the associated straps. With all that said, let's go and get started. I'm still waiting on the other piece of this 2x2 to come in the mail, so we're going to do the rear drive shaft first, and then probably start mocking up the front drive shaft, take a break, do these other little projects, and then knock out the front at the end of the video. But let's go and get started. Alright, so to drill out these holes, I took it over to the yoke itself, and I marked from the back side of the blank, and I just marked where the 8 different bolt holes are. The yoke on this axle has 8 total threaded holes on it. I'm going to try to use as many of them as possible to hold this yoke into place. And then to drill this out, I'm just using my DeWalt hand drill here just to knock out these 8 different holes pretty quickly. You can see I'm stepping through the bits nice and slow, starting out with an 1/8 inch, then a 1/4, then a 3/8, and then finally a 1/2 inch drill bit to complete the holes. The bolts on this are just shy of a 1/2 inch, so that extra 1/2 inch going out that far gives it just a little bit of freedom in case I'm off a hole just by a little bit, since I am using a hand drill to do this. But anyways, finishing this up, we're going to move right on to putting the yokes on the square tube next. Alright, so y'all can see here I am just welding up the 2 different yokes on the large and small pieces of square tubing. Pretty simple. You can see I'm doing a root pass followed by 2 cover passes to really burn these in. I don't ever want these things to go anywhere. They are drive shafts. They are kind of critical to the vehicle as it, drives. So I'm going to make sure that these are super sturdy and super welded into place. So we're doing 3 total passes around both of these joints. You can see here that the welds turned out pretty good. It is kind of hard welding to some of this metal. It is kind of hard to weld to some of the metal because it's not perfectly good steel, but the welds come out good enough for what this is. And next step is going to be just putting in the U-joints. Alright, as you can see here, I'm just installing the U-joints on one of the two yokes right now. I could use the shop press to do this, but I find the hammer and the socket method to be perfectly adequate. It works very fast, and it means I don't have to turn my air compressor right now. So we're just going to use the socket and the hammer method. It's super easy to do this. You just find a socket barely smaller than the U-joint cap. You put the socket over the cap, and then you just hit it into place using a mallet or a hammer of some kind until it clears through where the snap ring goes. Once it clears through the little piece there, install the snap ring, flip it over, same procedure again, and install the other slap ring, and you're done. Quick and easy. Alright, so you guys can see here that I'm making a couple auxiliary pieces. The first thing I'm doing is I'm making a cross member for the air tank to sit in the bed of the Willys. This is just a 5-gallon portable air tank from Harbor Freight. I'm just putting a cross member out here with a piece of 1/8" steel perpendicular to the cross member. The cross member is going to get welded into the frame rails, and then this piece of perpendicular steel is going to be what the air tank itself rests on. I'm going to be planning on filling up this air tank prior to taking the Willys wheeling. That way I've got at least 5 gallons of pressurized air if I were to ever need it. Eventually the Willys might get its own air compressor to keep that tank filled, but for now it'll just be a fill in the garage before going out wheeling. I'm also working on doing some bump stops. And as you can see here, I am working on doing the bump stops. I'm making a pretty simple little mount that will just weld onto the outside of the frame rails, and it will hit the spring perch as the rear of the suspension cycles up and down. This mount's made out of 1/8" 2x2 angle iron with some 1/8" triangle gussets along the side. You can see here that I'm just welding these gussets into place on the inside and the outside. And then I'm going to take it over to the flap disc and the vise here, smooth it out, and then we're going to go over to the truck and weld it into place. Here I am welding the bump stop mounts into place on the exterior frame rails of the rear of the Willys. And now I will just simply throw the bump stop through and screw it down, and that is going to complete the bump stop installation. Alright, so we got the drive shafts done, we have the rear bump stops done, and we have the air tank mounted. Let me go ahead and show you guys what all of this looks like finished up on the truck. Alright, so coming down here, you can see that that is the front drive shaft. You can see that it's got about 12 inches of slip there, both directions going to that axle. And then back here, we have the rear drive shaft mounted to that custom flange that we have, going up to the transfer case up there. Pretty straightforward. Right here is what the bump stop mounts look like. As you can see, that is just that little angled iron with those two little gussets on it with a hole drilled through it to mount these very simple polyurethane bump stops too. We got these on both sides. And then coming back here, you can see the air tank mounted onto that cross member below it. So now all we got to do is just fill the air tank up at home, and we can connect an air line to it, and then we can fill up a tire, maybe run an air tool for about 3 seconds, or whatever else we might need a little bit of pressed air for. And it takes up a little bit of this dead space that was back here in the truck too. Nice and easy. Alright, pretty straightforward video, truthfully. Not very complicated making square drive shafts, especially when you're not really concerned about them being balanced or anything like that. Those square drive shafts are going to provide plenty of structure for this truck in terms of the reliability of them on the trail. They're super strong, super sturdy, extremely durable, and they're going to work just fine. Again, if you're going to do square drive shafts, they are not for highway driving. They will vibrate and make a ton of noise, and they will probably destroy most of your axles and your pinion bearings and all that kind of stuff if you try to use a square driveway at speed. But for low speed crawling and a little bit of off-road work, square drive shafts are perfectly fine. If I do run into issues, if I happen to start breaking pinion bearings or anything like that, I will replace these with, you know, normal long travel type drive shafts that you can get from like Adams and places like that. But for the price of what these drive shafts cost compared to what an Adams drive shaft cost, I'm extremely happy with how these turned out. Knocked out a few other small auxiliary projects as well in this truck, and we're making steady progress. In the next video, I think we're going to be plumbing and tidying up some other small stuff. I got to put in fluid, I got to do bleed the brakes, and a bunch of other stuff. I might make a video about it, or I might not. I haven't fully decided yet. So next time you guys see me though, this truck should be running and driving, and we'll probably be tuning the carburetor and hopefully getting it outside of my shop here so that I can bring this boat in. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you all liked it. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.